Hello. In this bulb log video diary supplement, I'm responding to some of the questions I've been asked about the sand plunge beds where I grow bulbs directly in sharp sand. So I thought we'd have a look at this one first, just to see that this has been in growth. There are areas you can see how much growth is. This one's been planted up for some time, and in many ways it needs thinned down a bit. The bulbs are growing too well. It's really colourful just now. We're in another phase of flowering. This has given us flowers if you check back through the bulb logs and some of the earlier video diaries. This area has been flowering beautifully since when? About September or October. And it goes through this phase and gradually it'll start to ease down. So what else? We've got all sorts. We've got Techophilias. Techophila cyanocrocus is the one with the whiter, is the variety Lechlini. We've got Muscaris. There's various different tulips coming up. There's more tulips here. We've got Ephians, the big Ephians, which I'm not really wanting too many of them in here. They can do it big, but they do give me flower at a later time. This is a Tristagma. More of the Narcissus bulbicodiums. And if we look up here, just coming, Tropiolum azurium. Sorry, the azurium is up here. These are the azurium flowers just opening now. So these are Tropiolum azurium, and this lovely red, purple and yellow is Tricolorum. So with the three coloured ones, Tricolorum. It was really quite dense. I took quite a lot of the Tricolorum out of here because I want to concentrate in here on the azurium. So that's it up there, so I'll get more of azurium in here. Down here the Techophilia cyanocrocus itself. But it's these, the Narcissus obesus. Really beautiful just now. And this is a nice little hybrid that I got from Anne Wright. So that's a nice little one. It goes well. It's an obesus type hybrid, I think. So what do we do? Well, the bulbs are just growing in sand. If I come down here, you can see they're not very deep plunges. I'd like them to be a lot deeper. So they're about, what, 15, 20 centimetres deep. If we come back, you can see that's a U-shaped one. It's slightly deeper at the back. I had it specially built so it slopes forward. And so that's that one. But if we move round here, we can see this area. These are all pots of seeds. But there's an area here of sand. If I come down, you can see again how deep it is if I put my hand there. It's not deep enough. Ideally, the deeper it can be, the better. The type of sand, it's got to be a gritty sort of sand. So if I'm slightly damp and if I crush it in my hand, it shouldn't form a patty. You know, it should fall apart. It shouldn't form a ball or a patty. You know, and you can see there's quite a lot of good sized grit. So it's up to about 6 mil grit. And if you look, you can see that here at this side, where I've not disturbed it, the surface is quite dry. But it's all dry further. But as you go down, dig down, you can see that there's moisture down there, which is kind of what bulbs really want. They want to be relatively dry up in the top, but have a constant supply of moisture down below. This wee section's where last year I thinned out one section of the plunge I showed you over there, and I just brought some of the small narcissus in here, put them in here till I could see what because obviously there's no labels in the beds, so I didn't know what I had. So I planted some here to see. You can see the 4 different abesis. The ones with labels are ones I particularly want to work on and work up, so and move. So I wanted to know them. So these are my own Susanne hybrids, and some of my other hybrids. The plunges are exactly the same. Here, this is the other bulb house, and here everything's still growing in pots. And most of it's over now. It's been wonderful through the autumn and winter. It gives us lovely colour. You can see very clearly that this fritillaria is coming now, although these are starting to go over. There's ornithogalums. There's different corydalus. The Tropaeolum tricolorum in here. Lovely Fritillaria reuteri. Tropaeolum. All round, it creates a natural shading. It goes around and up, covering the fan. These, let me find one here. Where can I find something, one I can show you if I come down? Here they are growing in these pots. So I've just got every sort of second pot along the back where I want the tropaeolums. There's the tubers sitting right on the surface. They're a bit like potatoes, and they come up. So that's where they're planted, and these ones are in pots. And it's just exactly the same type of plunge, same depth, with a layer of sand, and then the pots sat on top of the sand. Some narcissus, but this bulb house, apart from there are a few things popping up and flowering. There'll be some alliums shortly. Most things are going over. You can see really going back now some of the early snowdrops. I've always, when it's a good time to speak to you a bit about letting your bulbs set seed. To me, these are setting seed. I can feel the plumpness in the capsule. It's often written that you shouldn't let your bulbs set seed because it weakens the bulb. This is not true, because a bulb that's not setting seed, this is a pot of galanthus that obviously hasn't set seed, and it's going back now. But a bulb that does set seed will grow for longer. I've done trials. They grow for 4 to 6 weeks longer. So that 4 to 6 weeks extra growth, therefore they doesn't weaken the bulb at all. In fact, it's quite the reverse. Allowing your bulb to set seed gets it a longer growing season, and as long as you feed it and water it and look after it, it will be as big a bulb, if not bigger bulbs. And on top of that, as far as I'm concerned, the most precious gift that you can get from your bulbs in any flower are the seeds. So let's just go down to the other bulb house to look at the... So this bulb house, as I say, is all is still in pots. That's the one I've kept in pots. All 3 bulb houses used to be stacked full of pots of plants. But as I've got older, I can't do them all. I'll just pan round so we can see some of the garden as I walk by. But I was, you know, as you get older and you don't seem to be able to do so much, you stop having time to repot everything. So that was when I went over to putting into the sand. Now this is quite good, because if I come round here, I'm going to spin round, because I just watered this yesterday. Got the hose in, and you can see what happens on the surface when you water it. You get this puddling. You get the fine material washes to the surface, and if you just leave it, that forms a crust on the surface, which stops air getting in, and it stops you watering the next time, and it encourages moss to grow. So I just go over with you can use an old fork or anything. So later today I'll do this wee bit. I'll go over with the point and just roughen all the surface gently, carefully around. I'm breaking up the surface like that. It looks nicer. It allows air in, because it's critical for bulbs or any plant to have air in the soil as well as water. So that opens it up, and that's just it's a therapeutic thing, because it means I look very closely at everything that's growing in here. I can see all the seedlings coming up. It takes a while. It'll take me probably half an hour to an hour. So what have we got in here with some of the fritillarias? So Fritillaria tubiformis, Fritillaria tortifolias. Some of the fritillarias coming out, Fritillaria obliqua. We've got a Romulia, some type here. This side I planted a lot of little young fritillarias. Some fritillarias don't seem to, I don't know if it's the sand, they didn't seem to do so well. They've gone back a bit. Maybe they'll recover and come along. Maybe they're adapting. So some do very well and some don't do so well. So it's a case of finding out. But lots of nice seed looks to be forming. You can often tell this is a narcissus. You can often tell if this seed by gently. We don't want to damage or bruise in any way the cap, but you can feel, because often the capsule will swell with just air, but that's really feeling solid, so that's got seed forming. Up here, one of the fritillarias from the Montana group. More Tropiolum tricolorum, and these are planted in the sand, so they're growing in the sand. More ornithogalums. There's one type there. I don't know the species of them. They're a confusing group. There's another type there. We've got various Corydalus. In this plunge it's Tropiolum azurium seedlings that I've got in here, so I planted seed in here. So this side will be all Tropiolum azurium. Techophilias, they've been out a few days, they're going over. There's one just coming out down in there. Some Epheans, the Hermodactylurus tuberosa. So that's the other plunge, and you can see flowers going over over the last few weeks. It's just been glorious. There's a few more fritillarias appearing, and that's the other bulb house. So that's a talk about the sand plunges. The other thing I should say was feeding regime in here before I water it for the first time of the starting off in September, the first watering. I'll put a light scatter, very light scatter of Gromor, so I set a balanced fertilizer, NPK balanced, and then through the winter when it's in growth and I'm watering with watering cans because the outside water's turned off, I'll put about half strength, third to half strength tomato type liquid fertilizer into each can. These are, if you look at that from there to there, these are in sections that are about 600 mil, 60 centimetres by 60 centimetres. 1 5-gallon watering can on that, and a dilute feed. And then what I will do in the next few weeks is I will put some sulphate of potash, so I will give a light dressing of potassium on the top, and that potassium will help the bulbs flower and firm up for next year. So that's the rough watering feeding regime. Watering is just by judging it. Gradually now, as so many things going over, the watering will be slowly reduced. And when we see leaves going yellow, that's a sign that they're shutting down, so we shut down the watering then as well. So there we go. That's the procedure in the bulb houses. And of course, as they're winding down, out in the garden is winding up. So I intended this to be a short video, but it wasn't so short. If you stuck with me all through this, thank you. Any questions about it, get in touch or read my bulb blog, which you can access on www.srgc.net. On the home page of the Scottish Rock Garden Club, you'll see the link to Ian Young's bulb blog, which I write every week and have done for, I'm in my 18th year now, so all the information's there. So thank you very much for joining me. Bye again.